Hello everyone, it's Friday night and it is time for the Weekender once again. And on this week's show, John gets excited for Airborne, Ben is hyper for High Elves, and I get a bit giddy about Gladiators. On top of that, one lucky viewer will also be in with a chance to win a £50 voucher from Wayland Games. If you want a chance to grab that, then pop a comment below this video here on YouTube or over at OnTableTop.com. Or if you want to do them both, then that doubles your chances. Now sit back, relax, because your weekend starts here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined this week by Justin and Ben. Say hello, boys.
Happy fun time week.
Yeah.
We're here for another fun-filled week.
We are.
Unlike last week, where we thought we'd be here for the awards, and then that got somewhat delayed. Speaking of, our awards are out. If you've not seen them, you can go over and give us helpful feedback like, that's not the best game, and then don't expand on that in any way, shape, or form. So we've had our community awards in January, where we celebrate you, the people who play the games, and the industry awards are where we celebrate the industry who make the games. Mm-hmm. Unless you're Donald Featherstone, in which case you hate those people. Don't play games that people make. Design your own and then sell them and become one of those people.
Yeah. Well, the fun part is now John is going to have to go off and start putting together the physical awards.
Yeah.
And get them sent out to everybody again.
Yeah.
That'll keep him out of mischief.
It will.
Off the streets.
But it's fun to see him in mischief.
Otherwise, he gallivants. Pawing
fun to see him gallivant.
Doors and stuff. Yeah. Or am I mistaken John with a stray dog? Easily done. Anyway, so yes, if you haven't seen them yet and you want to see what we think was the bestest and the brightest of 2024, you can go there. The answers may surprise you.
That's the BuzzFeed headline for you. There we go. So
yes, 10 games you didn't think that we knew about.
Exactly.
Discuss.
Yeah.
How many categories does the multi-award winning Winston win in? Shock.
You'll have to watch and find out.
Yeah. So. Right. Anyway, pressing on with the show and kicking off with the news.
Yes. To begin with, we have some news coming out of the folks at Warlord Games. It is time to once again have a look at the D-Day landings as our Forces of America, or United States book, has landed. So your Germans who got their Forces of, or Armies of book now have someone to fight against. So this is going to do the exact same as what we saw in the German one. So it's going to guide you through how you're building your forces, what you would have had at certain time periods and stuff. So just a really nice, clean way to tell you how you should be running your American forces at each stage of the war. On top of that, we're getting some new plastic. And the new plastic we're getting is an Airborne set, which is going to build us 30 miniatures with a range of all the classic weapons that we all know and love. So we've got our bazookas, our grease guns, our Tommy guns, our M1 Grands, our Springfields, our bars.
Bar whores.
There's a lot.
I always like the iconic ting of the M1 Garand.
That's
the magazine ejects.
The stripper clip pings out.
Yeah. And then the Germans start firing at you because they can hear it from a mile off. So, yeah.
Well, again, this might be the perfect excuse if you're someone who loves the old Band of Brothers show to go back in and watch it.
Very true.
Because it's honestly one of the best representations I have ever seen in cinema. And these miniatures look absolutely fantastic as well. So these are going to take you through a good dose of your war for gaming. Funnily, though, the bar was actually a World War I gun that they never deployed.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, they were scared that the Germans would get their hands on it because they thought it was so good. So they didn't deploy the American forces with that. And they gave them the French Shona, which was a piece of hot steaming doo-doo.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, you know.
We'll say, because obviously somebody will, that the uniform changed between D-Day and Market Garden. So this is specifically D-Day early war Paris.
The M42 jump uniform.
But as far as I know, they've already got late war plastics for the Paras anyway. So this is filling that gap. They should do, obviously, a load without any weapons at all. As anybody who's watched Band of Brothers will know.
Yeah.
Their weapons did not accompany them down.
Yeah. That's very true.
Which is cute.
Again, it's always an interesting period of the war because some of the stories you hear from the D-Day landings are just absolutely bonkers. What was it? The guns on Point de Hoc that got moved and then they got found in a freaking field. And then, there was one per para. He came down and his parachute got caught on, I think it was like a church or a clock tower.
Staple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was just left hanging. And he had to play dead, and a German shot him while he was hanging to make sure. Yeah. And he had to hold in the scream. I would not be doing that. I'm sorry. I would have been rumbled.
There's a nice little bonus money if you order, I suppose if you order directly from Wayland.
Yep. So it's the Jack McNeese, I think he is. Yeah.
Well, Jake.
Or Jake.
Jakey boy.
Sorry, yes. Yeah. Jake.
So, his real name's James, but he goes by Jake.
Yeah.
Well, on top of our plastic set, we are going to be seeing a new army set as well, the Currahee army set.
Mm-hmm.
So that is most likely going to, I would be building them as the 101st, just because they're the ones that I know the best from the show. And in that, we are getting a massive amount of stuff. So you're obviously getting your lovely, lovely new plastic, but you're also going to be getting your officer. I believe that comes in resin. You're going to be getting a couple of medium machine guns. You're going to get a 75mm pack howitzer, 57mm anti-tank gun. Have I missed anyone? I don't think I've missed anyone.
Plastic and MDF bases.
Yeah. Well, bases are important in this gig.
And the decals as well, which are obviously important for those people who don't want to do the freehand work. So
good old water slide transfers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have not properly figured those out, even after years.
Right.
Can never get them to work right. I am just crap.
It's fine now. There's a jerry can on how you do it. It's really, really simple.
It's maybe I'm just lazy.
The Americans are not the only thing coming.
No. So on top of that, we've been given a bit of a sneak peek of the covers for both our Great British Armies of book, which should be coming down the pipeline, as well as our Soviet one. So all of the usual suspects are just about to be ready to be played full on in the latest edition of the game. Mm-hmm. Honestly, Jerry, we've been talking a lot about, forgotten battles or lesser known battles.
Mm.
And I think with all of these coming out, I'm hoping a lot of people are maybe going to start looking into those.
It would be fun. Although, let's face it, since they're leaning so heavily D-Day, and that front cover is just screaming Market Garden.
Oh, yeah.
Too far. I think the known battles will be front and center for a while. But who knows what people get up to? I mean, all you need to do is have a little hook in. So James McNeese there, Jakey boy. The reason he's been included is he was... have you ever heard of the film The Dirty Dozen?
Yes.
So him and his friends were part of a demo team called the Filthy 13.
Okay.
And they were responsible for an awful lot of shit that went down. So you could just start finding out the stuff that the Filthy 13 did in reality.
Yeah. That could be fun.
Or, if push comes to shove, just recreate the Dirty Dozen where you have to go over the wall into the German.
Are those the guys that had the Mohawk haircuts?
Because he was the Irish Native American.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know what tribe it was, so I'm not going to guess. But yes, mixed ancestry. So he went with the Mohawk and the face paint, which is what you see in some of the plastic pictures there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the little free mini is Jake, and it's a nice little touch because they've done this with the other books as well so far, where they've included someone who's very front and center in the war, but maybe not somebody that is instantly recognizable. It's not a Rommel or a Patton this time round. And then you go and have a look at what they've actually done and go, holy shit.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I can see why they were decorated. Yeah,
that's sometimes the fun bit is just finding some random dude from the war and going, "What did you get up to? Oh my god, what madness, what insanity is this?"
Yeah, it's the Stoessi's Heroes approach to things.
Yes.
If you haven't seen their stuff, go and check out their range.
Oh god, yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
What a fun-filled, fantastic time coming up for the old bolt action from Wayland Games, which is how it should be pronounced always.
I'm sure John Stallard cringes every time he hears someone say that now.
Pretty sure nobody says to him.
Oh, come on, it's so memeable.
Sticking with World War II.
Yes. So, speaking of lesser-known areas of the war, the guys at Kromlech are actually helping us out by putting up for pre-order their early war Polish. Now, this is a section of the war that I think gets very quickly glossed over a lot because, normally you're instantly thinking the big four that were in the war. So you've got Great Britain, you've got the Soviet Union, you've got Germany,
Liechtenstein,
and America.
Always makes my top 4 list of any conflict.
Ulrich, yeah.
But what you've completely derailed me.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
What the guys at Kromlech have done is they're bringing out they're re-bringing out some older stuff they've done. So they've done your infantry squad, they've done their HQs, and some of these are absolutely gorgeous looking. So if you want to actually explore this part of the war, this is going to help you do that because as well as their infantry and stuff, they've brought out their vehicles and they've also brought out some Germans alongside it. So, little tiny armored car. Oh, you're so cute.
It's basically all the stuff that you wanted, Jerry, I think, to start filling out a fair amount of your Polish stuff, I think, really.
This one is weird. What was the designer drinking that day that he thought, I'm going to put 2 turrets with machine guns on a tank. This is going to be great.
Well, it's a tank. It's a
tank.
Yeah, well, it's It's early war. It's relatively small. If you want to see a proper Polish tankette, though, look for the TKS.
Yes.
I do know somebody does them in 28mm, but I can't remember who.
It is sinful how cute they are.
They're like smaller than a Tiger 2's turret. It's just
it's like a little 2-man thing, isn't it?
Theoretically, yes. Although they have to be very thin.
Oh, they have to be cozy with each other.
Yeah.
Comfortable. We also get our trucks, of course, because you have to get your people to the battle. You can't just put them all on bicycles.
Make them walk.
Well, you could. You would be a very mean commander, Jerry. No trucks for you. You walk everywhere. We have to keep you healthy.
How expensive diesel is. You've got horses, don't you?
Now, like I said, we also get some of our Germans, and the German infantry just look absolutely superb. The poses and stuff, the weapon loadouts. I absolutely love these. And then this one I actually hadn't seen before looking at this news post. And it's just like, okay, I can see you've got a machine gun and something a bit heavier. And, you've got technically 4-wheel drive, I'm guessing.
Well, 6 rad is 6 radial. So
okay.
6 tires.
That makes sense, yeah.
But yes, because it was a scout car, they upgraded those to 8 rads later on. And then they shortened it for a while. So you had the 250s, I want to say. Where the shorter versions, it was very stubby as opposed to being really long.
Yeah.
So a shorter side profile. Interesting little scout car for the beginning of the war.
Yeah. And we get what I can honestly consider one of the first times we actually see and remember what a main battle tank should look like. So we've got our Panzer IIIs. I know that earlier in history, this style of tank had been created where you had tracks with the full turret on top. But this is the one you remember. This is the one that just feels like it was always widely used the most. It's a lovely little vehicle.
Yeah.
There's an inherent charm to German tanks.
There is true. That's very true. I like that they've rebought this range out again. It was one of those ones that Kromlech released that was kind of done, I mean, obviously because Kromlech are Polish. Yeah. And they wanted to celebrate, their contributions to that early war period. And as you said, just in the beginning, like a period of the war that was effectively glossed over.
You very quickly move on to, oh, okay, Poland got took over. We're going to quickly forget that the Russians were in on that too.
Yeah.
And we're going to get on to the point where Germany just expanded out through France. But surprisingly, this actually led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I didn't know that the Polish actually had a few victories during that period.
They did. They weren't just rolled over.
Yeah. So there's at least 2 I found where they were beating the Germans, and 1 where they beat the Russians. And surprisingly, Jerry, you mentioned the little tankettes earlier. One of those victories was actually with those and bicycle infantry, which I find highly amusing.
Getting to different places on the battlefield very quickly. So,
yeah.
It's easier to learn to ride a bike than it is to learn to ride a horse.
That's
and
true.
everybody had them by the time World War II came along.
Again, this is why most tanks in the Russian army were designed off of, like, if you can drive a tractor, you can drive this.
Yeah.
keep it simple. Less time in the training field then for people.
Yeah, get them to the front.
It'd be interesting to see if any of the compendium stuff or any of the blogs and things that Warlord have done over the last little while for kind of bolt action stuff look at this particular period of the war, because I mean this would obviously be a dead fit for using alongside bolt action. You can get a lot of the minor nation stuff from Warlord, can't you, as well? So there's plenty of opportunities for you to run around with the Polish and have some fun.
Fight for victory.
Yeah, fight for victory as well. Yeah,
a book I would love to see on top of the Armies of that we're seeing. I would love to see like an Armies of allies. So all those other smaller nations that, fine, they weren't one of the big 4, but they were there and they were helping. Because I scrolled on down the page whenever I was looking at the list of the Polish army's involvement. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely everywhere. I mean, they even got some of their navy away before the invasion.
Wow. Yeah.
Brought it to Great Britain to keep it safe. Yeah. And then Great Britain went, you know what? We've got stuff in storage here. We don't have the crews for it. If you have sailors, we'll put them on board. You can have them. You can come along and fight with us.
Well, exactly.
Well, they're just like, yeah, we're in.
I mean, we talked about them a couple of weeks ago at with the bridge too far and all that kind of thing. They were involved in the RAF and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
They played a key part in the continued war effort and stuff. So
yeah. And then homeland somehow.
Yeah,
and they finally managed it in like the 80s.
Yeah, and then their resistance forces, they were vicious. From what I've been reading. The amount of damage they did. And I think I don't know if this stat is completely correct or not, but I think it said like something like 48% of intelligence that came through to Great Britain came from the Polish resistance forces.
There you go.
Sounds about right, but I think roughly 76% of all stats are made up on the spot.
So. Yeah. It's funny, you can use facts to prove anything, Jerry. It's so annoying.
Yeah, but I mean, it was Polish codebreakers that broke Enigma.
Yeah.
Despite what Benedict Cumberbatch.
Beneficial cucumber.
Wants you to believe. Wasn't him. It was the Polish did it first. Anyway. Yeah, really nice to see. And they are 28mm figures as well. I know
they are,
previously, I'm going to say, their Polish range was bigger, but these are specifically, and they do say these are 28mm ones. I think possibly they ran 2 Polish ranges side by side in the old days.
Possibly.
Because they had like a 40mm range, which is just evaporated altogether. So fear not, you won't be buying something that's twice the height of a man.
That's true.
In your collection already.
They did say that they've been kind of revamped and retooled a little bit. So the sculpts are a little bit fresher and crisper and things like that.
Yeah.
So
but
they have moved on since their
final
older
thought
resin
for me.
days. So
very good. Final thought for me, I would love to just see the ability to fold in those lesser known nations to like larger forces. So they can actually get a little representation on the tabletop. That's where I would be going. But we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah.
Well, they've done them all before in campaign books and the Allies books. So
we'll see. I know that Kromlech have said, by the way, that they are looking to add more to these ranges as well. So keep an eye out for more from them because they are going to do a bit more. So
that's some
Kromlech do beautiful work. They're always worth keeping an eye on.
I
don't technically need any more for the Warsaw Rising, but variety is
but
good.
Do you want more?
There's always the chance to expand the collection.
Yeah.
I mean, event season is fast approaching.
Yes.
You might walk past the stand and go, ooh. Oops.
I rarely do that. Instead of being carrying it back. Much rather people just send it to me. Keep the postman fit.
I don't know. There's something that just warms my heart. That instant gratification of going, ooh, shiny, and having it. Instead of going, ooh, shiny. I have to wait for the postie.
Yeah, it's fine. There's always something coming. Right. Benjamin.
Yes.
History. God. Let's stick with historicals.
Yes, it's in a fashion. Yes. So Games Workshop are going to be taking pre-orders for their returning and new High Elves for Warhammer the Old World this weekend. The High Elf realms are going to be coming back to the tabletop in full force. Obviously, the rules for the High Elves are already available as part of the big blue books for Warhammer the Old World. Mm-hmm. But this will be the first release of their Arcane Journal, which will contain a few sort of like extra rules and things for the High Elves. So it'll come with a few more special characters in there, some of which we'll see later, alongside rules for running Armies of Infamy. So they're kind of like more thematic forces. So there'll be a Thracian. I always say it Thracian, although I think a lot of people say it differently, but whatever. Warhouse. Yeah. As well as the Sea Guard. So if you want to run your Lothran Sea Guard, you're of course going to get options for them as well. Alongside the book, there's also going to be the full reference card pack alongside the dice and the transfer sheet, so you don't have to do all the fiddly work on the shields, which is always nice to see, and on the banners, of course, as well, because the elves like to be extra, of course.
Oh, very fancy.
Flamboyant.
Very fancy. Very extra, very fancy. What's quite nice about this, obviously, is that Old World doesn't get as updated and errated as often as the other mainline Games Workshop games, so that reference card pack might actually be viable in the next couple of weeks. So there we go. That's
if not, you can always use them as top trumps.
Yeah, or just flick them at people. I don't know. Yeah.
Good,
maybe
on the spokes of your bike.
It's nice to see elves that haven't fell in love with trees so hard that they've hugged it and merged.
Well, there you go. Exactly. Yes, true. Or
they'll be coming with what else? Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But alongside the book and the transfers, there's also the new High Elves Battalion, which brings together a bunch of the older plastic kits from Warhammer Fantasy. So these are your big hammer-handed elves, as a lot of people like to refer to them as. I remember these back when they had the wonderful Adrian Smith artwork on the front covers of the regiment boxes. I love those. Wonderful.
I think we might still have an army of these kicking about somewhere.
You should crack it out and play some Old World, maybe.
Yeah, I'd have to pry it from Warren's Cold Dead Fingers. It's probably what it is.
Right, fair enough. There's 32 Elven Spearmen in there and 32 Elven Archers, alongside the command options for you to build those as 2 units of 16, if you prefer instead. You also get the 2 chariots as well, which can be built as Tyrannoc chariots, or you can have them as Lion chariots of Thrace, if you wanted to go down that route, which is the way that I would go, because I'm a
slower, heavier.
Slower, heavier, more bitey, less
punchy,
less hooves, more claws. But alongside those returning plastic sets, which will eventually get released as individual packs later on down the road, as they often do, we also have a whole bunch of additional plastic kits and stuff going. So the classic plastic High Elf Lord / Archmage on Dragon is coming back. Obviously inspired by the original dragons that came out back in day.
Dragon Masters was the box
Dragon Masters,
really inspired it. Yeah.
With that wonderful sort of classic Games Workshop style of dragon, that kind of really old school Drake feel to them, which I think is really nice. That almost kind of like lizard-like feel, which is really cool.
There's a little tiny one on the base.
Well, you've got to have a little dragonling somewhere. Yeah. It's clearly the familiar for somebody somewhere, probably. But yeah, so you've got those that fantastic kit coming back for those people who want to rock their dragons, alongside maybe their dragon princes of Calidor as well, potentially, as well as returning metal miniatures in the form of Corhill Lionmane and the Handmaiden of the Everqueen. As a big fan of Corhill, I've been scouring eBay for him for the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't want to pay £90 for one model. But I will gladly.
Metal?
They are still metal. Yes. But I will gladly be picking up Corhill because he is one of my favorite characters. Elves with axes. What is not to like? So he'll be coming back in metal form. Plastic miniatures wise, there's a whole bunch of additional regiments coming out. A lot of these will have are the updated versions that came out through Island of Blood. So if you liked that, if you had that set or you missed that set, for example, and you want to add to it or pick it up for the first time, you'll be able to get your hands on those. So you've got the Swordmasters of Hoeth, who can still deflect arrows, which is just frickin' awesome.
Parry save, thank you.
Hit arrows out of the air. How badass is that? I was always annoyed that Troll Slayers / any Slayers for dwarves got no kind of ward save for just being badasses, and yet elves and everything else always got some bloody ward save.
They used to at one point.
They used to have their tattoos and stuff that would give them something, but alas,
you always did. They always got the tattoos. But
The old world is getting more and more tempting the longer it's out now.
It's lovely to see the old models back. Obviously, it's great for those fans of Warhammer Fantasy from back in the day who want to get their old stuff back out and start playing. But of course, if you want to play Old World, you can obviously just use the newer base sizes and play that as well. So, there's also my favourites, the White Lions of Thrace. I'm just going to keep on that. Who are fantastic kit. And once again, I won't have to scour eBay and pay £60 for a box. I can play £40 for a box instead.
GW,
are you sure with the way their prices are going?
Yeah. Or I'll just.
They might just set that as the standard, my friend.
Yeah. Or I'll just pop them. I'll find them at a sale somewhere and pick them up somewhere else.
The car boot sale, the old school way, where a missus is getting rid of some of her husband's junk, and then he has an aneurysm when she gets home.
That's the best way to do it, and then never tell anybody.
They look so exciting and new. Yeah, my White Lions are still the Marauder led ones.
Oh right, yeah, because they were one of those plastic regiments that went through a weird phase where they were the metal versions. Then they had the plastic versions for all of a hot minute.
Yes,
and then they were gone completely with the move over to Age of Sigmar, and you couldn't find them for love nor money. Mm-hmm. So this will be good for those people who want to avoid the scalpers once again. The Illyrian Reavers, again, the resculpts from Island of Blood back as well. So if you want to rock around with your spears and bows, you've got those options there at the same time. And this is obviously just a small portion of what they're going to be doing. You're going to be able to get your hands on things like the bolt throwers and all that kind of stuff as well for the High Elves.
Are the Sea Guard from Island of Blood? Have they popped up again?
They are coming back as well, yeah. So you're going to have them with the sculpted shields on the front, which will be really nice for people.
I bought 4.
Island of Blood was a brilliant set.
No, I bought 3, and then I swapped one set of elves for one set of Skaven with somebody.
Yeah.
Which is why I have a couple of ridiculous armies. Yeah. I'm impressed/surprised that the Island of Blood stuff is back because they had the worst sprue layout that has ever been seen by man. So you would get an Illyrian Reaver or Illyrian Reaver, and then beside him would be like the staff from the Skaven Warlock, and then maybe like Booby the Dragon, or no, Booby's was Griffin.
I have to get this just to see now.
But it was so intermingled that they must have had to go in and make whole new tools for those, because there's no way they could have just went, here's the Swordmasters.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because it was just all higgledy-piggledy.
I mean, you would imagine they would retool them.
They're not retooling most of the stuff. There's no need to. So, but that one, they would have had to retool all of it, which means obviously at some point the Skaven will have had to be split out as well. And because it's coming from Forge World, it's not just plastics.
So as well as the Illyrian Reavers and all the other things we've just seen there, the classic, the meerworm is coming back.
It's a classic beast.
So this was a miniature that was originally, I think, out as part of the Warhammer Forge
Monstrous Arcanum. Yeah, this is
which was a short-lived project by Forge World alongside things like Tamarkand, which was them essentially trying to do kind of like a Horus Heresy kind of thing for Warhammer Fantasy. Because I remember going to, I think it was the first games day that they held in Coventry, and they at the Rico Arena, and they had one of the books, which was the Monstrous Arcanum one, and they were flicking through and showing sketches off back when they would actually do this. And they were talking about they were going to cover things like Blackfire Pass and all the different battles that took part there. Yeah. And a lot of people remember the Troll Slayer sculpts that they did, which eventually came back out with the reinvention of the dwarves for the old world. But all those ones and a lot of stuff for the Empire and things were all going to be coming out to kind of like suit that range. And then obviously Warhammer Age of Sigmar happened and all of that went away, but it was really nice to see that the Meerworm is coming back as an awesome monster in resin.
I imagine therefore it's been folded into the High Elf Armies book.
It has, yes.
Rather than just being separate, because the Monstrous Arcanum book was a bestiary for Warhammer. There were things that lived on the old world and could be fielded in certain armies, but it was just, you'd see a High Elf Meerworm on one page, and then the next page would be a Ghast, whatever it was called for the undead, or the Chaos Mammoth.
That's where we got a lot of the things like the Skin Wolves and all that kind of stuff as well.
So they were always separate, which meant you often had the argument, full and frank exchange of views with your friends as to whether or not this should be
viable
fieldable.
for my army.
Yes.
So the Merworm is one of the Forge World Resin miniatures coming out, but there's a couple of additional characters that we did see during a Warhammer preview as well that are going to be dropping, and these obviously suit the Arcane Journal and the way that's been put together. So there's the Lord of Thrace. So if you want to try and build yourself a White Lion themed army, why would you not?
Yes.
This is going to be available for you to pick up. So a really nice new miniature there, and also Ishaya Vess, who has been appointed by the Sea Lord themselves to lead the defense of Ulthuan. So if you wanted to make a Lothar Sea Guard themed army, then you can have that. Why would you not take Lothar Sea Guard over classic city-state troops? Because they come with bows and spears. They're just better.
I will say there is one reason to take the City Guard over the Sea Guard, and that was whenever you could build the City Guard list that allowed you to field more bolt throwers.
Yes.
It was super filth. I've got
maybe
for a reason.
Maybe you'll be able to find that filth once again in the Arcane Journals.
Bolt throwers. Just saying. I did the same for my Dark Elves.
Pin everyone
spicy.
Around. Yeah.
Oh, you just turn one, you just look at a unit and go, what unit do I want to go away? To multiple shots.
Yeah. But yeah, all of that coming up for pre-order this weekend.
Cool.
So keep an eye out for that if you're a fan of the High Elves. Wood Elves and Beastmen coming very soon. Watch out.
Sweet like candy. Right, let's take a pause and check out some 3D printing. Okay, 3D printing. This time round, we're going to be checking out a fan favourite and firm favourite of ours.
Yes.
Which is Crooked Dice.
Yay!
Because they are on My Mini Factory. They have a store there now. So for people who live abroad in foreign places like Ireland, who would have to pay some sort of vicious import tax, or France or America or Australia.
The Pulp tax.
The Crooked Dice miniatures are great.
Yes.
And then the 7TV game itself is amazeballs, but getting your hands on the miniatures obviously can be costly. So they've got a whole bunch of stuff in here, and it is expanding at a rate of knots.
It really
you may
is.
spot people you think you recognize. Don't believe them. They're not them. You just think they're them.
They're Skrull.
They are. No, they're not. They're not them either. They're separate, distinct. I think we'll start off with what is 7TV for those of you playing along at home who are unaware. 7TV is a skirmish rule set. It can just be played like a regular skirmish game. You pick your force. Your opponent picks his force. You've got main characters, side characters, and cast and crew. So there's like 3 levels of model that you will buy into your gang, and they're all statted and pointed accordingly. So you can build your heroes, you can build your villains, you can build neutral gangs as well, and the neutrals can go with both. And it's to recreate those TV shows of the period. The idea behind it is they came from 7TV, which was a TV company that did all these action adventure TV shows and films. It went under at one point, in fact, and 8TV appeared with some people who looked not dissimilar to Australian comedians you may or may not be aware of. And 8TV apparently owned all the rights to 7TV stuff and started making new versions. So there's a whole cinematic backstory to 7TV, which is totally unnecessary for the game. And I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
So you can pick up your rule set through this, which will give you the books. And then after the rules, there are a couple of other bits and pieces called genre guides and the like. And genre guides are an entire encapsulated theme. So if I'll just wave this at you. Actually, I'll shut that for a second. If you want to play fantasy, there is a fantasy genre guide. If you want to play pulp, there is a pulp guide which will cover your sort of 20s to 40s. There is obviously the 80s TV guide, which contains anything for that period of time. So you can go in and you can pick up the genre guides as PDFs as well, and they contain things like character cards. So you get stuff like that, which are also printable as well. So you'll get the PDFs for those. But alongside those, you get prop cards and scenario cards, sort of things that happen during your episode that you're playing on the TV, in your movie set or TV studio. And remember, your gang, if they get killed off, they're just actors, so they're not dead. Their show just got cancelled. Don't worry about it. Don't get hired by somebody else.
Contract termination, gross misconduct.
Yeah. So it includes actual scenarios in here. So the genre guides like that, and then there are like little campaign packs, which I think may be called episode guides, or a compilation of episode guides make a scenario pack. So it's like an ongoing TV series. So that's the core idea behind the game itself. And within that, you can find all sorts of cracking stuff to allow you to do whatever you want to do. Obviously, if you're going to be playing 7TV, certain things will be nailed in for certain things. So, I mean, for example, if you want a vehicle, you come in here and then you can go and have a look and go, well, I need an Indiana Jones style adventure in a pulp series. So I'm going to require a U-boat for him to try and get onto, or James Bond is going to go and blow it up, so you need one in a sub pen somewhere with Blofeld and friends. You can do your whole horror, The Thing, or Mountains of Madness, which is
stuff,
a Cthulhu-esque one. You can have your battle tank for your
the lightning
basement.
Kittens. Yeah.
Yes. On the planet of Wukong.
Oh, I think I had that toy.
So, I mean, the beauty of Crooked Dice is the homage to television and film. Yeah. And obviously, 80s is very us. Well, certainly very me.
I mean, I was tail end.
Yeah,
I'm more 90s.
Yeah, I remember it all. It was cracking. Everything after that point was shit.
But no, actually, because I grew up in Ireland, we kind of got stuff later, so 80s does apply to me as well.
That's because we run 25 minutes and 21 seconds behind GMT. But
I think some of the towns would disagree.
But if you're after interesting things for specific bits and pieces, they're in there. So if you want your Stingray-esque Piranha craft, if you're after a Corvette time machine,
so good.
You can do that. Soldiers of Fortune van. These are all cracking.
Supercars tempting.
That is my favorite. And this is possibly where rockets, 3D printing comes into play, because I think they sold a physical one of these in the Kickstarter. I don't know if the physicals ever made it to the website, but it was well over 100 cash money pounds. I think it may have been bordering on 150 to get your massive 1930s-esque
resin
rocket ship in resin.
How big is it?
Oh, it's massive.
There you go. That's
scale. Perfect.
There is not Flash Gordon.
She's beefy.
So yes, if you wanted to have a massive rocket ship for a game of 7TV or Starshock, for example, then it's much easier to do it via the medium of the 3D print, because it's an absolute corker, and everybody likes Flash. Yes. So if we go into the collections, you can see some of the themes that they have, and they give an idea of where you're going, because they have their sort of spy stuff. So you've got and it can be anything from Get Smart through to James Bond itself, so you can do your Cold War bits and pieces. But then you've also got your considerable amounts of sci-fi bits from your Fugitive Fleet or the Moon-based crew.
Yeah, I was thinking, especially because you're quite into your Starschlock at the moment. I was thinking the Moon-based crew stuff would be very up your alley.
Up my Strasse. Yeah. Right up there.
In your Moon-based corridor.
What I will say is the Fugitive Fleet heroes are absolutely gorgeous.
They're brilliant. Yeah.
There's a spanking that you can get the full set of the classic Battlestar heroes.
The right Battlestar.
The proper
Star Battling Galactics things.
Like God intended. I have picked up some Captain Scarlet figures from them.
I remember,
which are the
security guys,
temporal security
to
use for Starstock. These are cracking as well. But if you are looking for some retro sci-fi, the collection of retro stuff is huge, because you have that classic Gordon-esque adventure. So you've got the old school Ming the Merciless and the Skullface Guards and ones with big hoods and stuff. But then you've also got the sort of Dalek-esque bits and pieces, and then into the 80s, you've I'm going to call them Cybermen, but it's not Cybermen. The Battlestar Cylons.
Oh, Cylons,
Cylons, yes. Toasters
on their eyes.
Yes. Toasters, easy way. See, I would love to use this to do some like old school like crossovers. So take two random TV shows and just mash them together and see what happens.
Can Doogie Howser hold off the invasion of Cylons?
Yeah.
Things like that.
There was Peachy, a lot of people will know him on YouTube, who's done loads of videos on like Sharp and all that kind of thing. He's a massive fan of 7TV. And if you're intrigued by the idea of like how the game works and sort of how it plays, he did a really nice battle report a couple of weeks ago where he kind of brought together a bunch of, as we said, sort of like crossover characters from different pulp TV shows and movies, and had them stuck in a fun game or two. So I'll put a link down below to that so you can go and give it a watch as well. See what you think about it. So.
Magnificent tash on him.
Yeah. The other thing that's really good is that a lot of these have come from their recent Kickstarter campaigns. So a fair amount of their recent Kickstarters are we will utilize digital sculpting. They still do physical sculpting as well, but a lot of it is through digital means at the same time. And so what's probably going to happen is that a lot of the campaigns they do that feature a lot of digital sculpts will probably end up getting their stuff featured here, because as we've seen, things like the rocket ship and stuff have appeared on my mini factory page. But it's also, just as you said, Jerry, just a great opportunity for those people who maybe don't want to have to pay the postage cost over in America or whatever to just get these files and start printing, because they're great files. Are pre-supported and unsupported as well, so you can do what you like with them. So have some fun.
Do we have many like goon characters, minion characters on here?
Oh, there are plenty of goons in here.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, there's a whole rake of them there.
Yeah.
Or do you mean as in the Canadian hockey movie, The Goon?
No, I do not. No, I do not.
You never know; it might be on the cards.
It's one of those things. If you want to do like the classic scene from some of the old shows, where it's just like a massive mount of dungers going after your heroes, this will help you do that, because
tons of mooks.
Because as soon as you have the sculpt, you can print as many as you want.
Yeah.
So you can do like something stupidly massive.
Bit of old school Dracula as well.
It's a really nice set, obviously, for their horror supplement / TV show. And because you're always playing out sort of action set pieces on your stage as well, it means you can really lean in and go whole hog into building your set, your board and everything else, and making it look like a regular street or table. So if you've got a load of stuff for a specific genre already, like fantasy or moderns, you can just use that. But if you want to just lean into it was a TV show, you can just do really quick
wobbly walls.
Your
the only thing that's there is the front of the buildings.
The back. They're just all backdrops, which means you can just print out your sets and then stick them to a bit of L-shaped card or balsa.
That would be such a good
then just go
board. All of it backed onto like MDF. MDF kind of thing.
Even if you have some like plastic card and stuff, you can just start carving it up to actually do like the big crane rigs and stuff for cameras and all, and have them poking in.
That'd be super cool.
That's getting beyond what I want to do, which is just put as much stuff on the table as quickly as possible so I can cycle through things.
Oh, you want to play full episodic?
Yeah.
But yeah, the range is ever growing and absolutely spanking gorgeous.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And they'll be at Salute this year, so if you like the look of this stuff and you want to get it physically and you come into Salute, obviously come and check out the guys at Crooked Dice and have a look.
Speaking of, if you want to see what's going on, the Salute game that they came up with for last year, the guide is available as a PDF there for free. So you can download that. And they have a few other things on their own website as well that you can grab episode guides that are free as well. But yeah, so if you want to play Battlestar or V, if you want to do 30s Flash or Get Smart, if you want to be a bit tongue-in-cheek with your spine, all of these things are capable and able, and you can just have a lot of fun just reliving someone's wasted youth. Might not be your own. But yeah, there's a mountain of stuff to get through in there.
You're never too big to play with toys.
Never, ever. So there you go. Check out Crooked Dice's shop over at My Mini Factory if you're doing the ones and zeros thing. And cool. If you still like metals, just get them.
You can. Yeah.
And like Ben said, you can find them this year at Salute if you're coming along.
Very true.
Yes. Yeah. That probably wouldn't be cheaper for importing, flying all the way to London, putting yourself up, that's true. Buying your stuff.
Would it be funner?
Get a friend to fly to London and get them to send you the things and pay all the postage fees.
It's the best way.
There's a business idea for someone, you are just a personal shopper. You hang a tablet around your neck with a Zoom call on the go. You're walking around, they're directing you what to buy.
Yeah. You're the
Pass the earpiece over to the person on the stand when they're asking question. Yeah. You are just, their digital physical presence.
Yeah. The Salute sommelier. Yeah.
Something robust. Robust.
Oh.
Right. I think we'll have a quick swish and take a look at some more news.
Even more news, bitches.
Even more news, you say, Jerry? Yes, Jerry. Even more news. This time, we're going back to fantasy. For Great For Now Games have got their pre-orders up for the, at this stage, infamous Guards of Traitor's Toll. Nobody wants to be caught in the street by a guard.
No.
And
that's true.
People have been champing at the bit since this sort of crept onto the face pages last year to actually get their hands on the game and get playing it. I know the playtesters have had a lot of fun with this.
It's hotly anticipated.
It is.
So. We're still hotly waiting.
So the starter sets have come up for pre-order, and there is a bucket load of stuff to come. If we take a look at the starter set, you can see it has everything you need to get into your games. There will be 36 multi-part plastics, courtesy of Wargames Atlantic, 24 city folk, and 12 city guards. They look absolutely gorgeous.
They do.
You'll also get the full rule book with a map of the city, which is great, although I have my map of Ankh-Morpork, so I'm sorted already.
That's true, yes.
No need to worry me there. And you'll also have gaming cards, recruitment cards, identity cards, trait cards, plot cards, secrets, and advanced cards. So your guards are going to be going around attempting to deal with nefarious deeds being done in the streets of Ankh-Morpork, and it doesn't matter what we say, Graham. I will never not think of it like that.
It's twinned with Traitor's Toll.
It is. It is twinned with Tullingchester, as we believe it is called.
Well, here's a question: which of those civilians looks the most shifty to you?
All of them, all the time.
There's a fella up the top there. He's got an axe and a sack. I think he's selling a cat as a pig.
It's the lady with the mask. She's clearly doing something strange. Yeah,
but she's rich.
Yes.
So right off the bat, that's deeply suspicious.
Or she's running a very legitimate establishment.
Yeah.
Nothing legitimate about this.
Which one of them is an insurance salesman? That's what I want to
know. Well, is there somebody with a lamp? Fire starter, eh?
Yeah, that's selling fire insurance.
Yeah.
So everything you need in there to get cracked into the games. The games themselves work on the principle that you and your little troop of guards are maneuvering through the streets, attempting to crack down on miscreants. And so the cards will generate the sort of issue at hand, be it the theft of somebody's purse, or maybe somebody's attempting to set fire to a building, who knows? But you have to try. What if it's
one of the other guards taking bribes?
Have to try and go, that's perfectly good. That's not guides, they're perks. Perks of the job.
It's your pay, yeah.
But the important thing about it is you have to arrest them without antagonizing innocent people in the streets. So as you do this, your little posse of guards will level up, get better at their job, hopefully learn how to spot who, when, and where.
what to leave well alone.
your goal is to become just like I'm trying to remember the guy's name from Life on Mars.
Oh, Sam.
No, not the one who came back from our time who was terrible. The punchy one, the Sweeney-esque character. Yeah,
you
want to be him.
Detective.
Yeah,
in charge,
from the era.
What was the name?
But I mean, you can basically be guaranteed one of your miniatures is always going to be the incompetent one who constantly gets it wrong.
Oh, probably
guaranteed. You're going to have every game is going to have this.
Just dicey rolling. Let's face it. It works on a similar system to 0-200 hours. So you'll see there a variety of stats that give you an idea of how good at fighting,
custom
sneaking,
dice
and
that
sort of thing as they maneuver around the place. So there's a bit of agency in how you play the game out. Who activates when and where could be very important because you don't want to let the little blighter get away, and you're not allowed to batter everybody in sight.
Alas.
So along with the starter set itself, you'll be able to pick up some additional bits and pieces. So the Busy Streets expansion contains a host of things to add, like patrons to your game. So you've got somebody with an overarching hand on the
tiller.
The tiller, yeah, or puppeteering your guards, either or. Let's face
somebody that you work for amongst the higher echelons of society.
Somebody who knows what he wants to happen and how to stop his nemesis getting away with whatever he wants going on. Yeah. So maybe the guards aren't completely blameless in all of this. It'll also add in some new advances and bits and pieces for your faction as well. So it sort of gives you a further push to the narrative long campaign style game, which is key.
Yeah, and more stuff for multiplayer as well. So you can take this up to 3 and 4 player games by adding these into the game as well.
Interesting.
So, There's no reason why you couldn't necessarily play with the starter set with more players if you just bought the miniatures separately. But this comes with all the extra gubbins that you'd need to have to have 4 players running.
Dice wouldn't be an issue, but it may run.
Minis.
I was going to say you may run short on tokens. But the way around that is to take the multi-award winning Moonstone's point of view, where games have a set amount of characters on the table. So, if you're playing a 1v1, you've got all the tokens you need, but then just push it down incrementally and it'll speed up the game as well. So maybe your guard squads are only 3 men rather than 6, but there's 4 of you playing, so you still have the same amount of guards on the table. It means you're not having to increase.
Actions of a turn.
Yeah.
The one thing missing here is I think they need to do a set of child miniatures with sort of a Fagin-esque character.
Yes,
the future's bright. You never know what they do.
I would be
Are you sure for those kids?
very surprised if they did not at some point do them. There is a launch bundle that will put the starter set with Busy Streets together, so you can get it all in one-stop shop. And if you do it, and I'm assuming this was specifically made for you, Ben, just to get you to talk about it, there is a drunk dwarf who is available as part of that. Hello.
They even give him a black eye.
I'm not saying that Graham didn't send me an email saying this is just so you don't miss this.
He knows you so well. Fish bite hooks and all of that jazz at the end of the day. But yeah, the Guards of Traitors Toll looks fascinating at the moment.
It really does.
Obviously, this is all coming in March. We've been waiting for it for some time, but it looks absolutely cracking. I particularly like the medieval woodcut-esque aesthetic of the illustrations and maps and stuff in the book itself.
It's really nice.
Which is absolutely cracking. And what they've done with Sarissa, if people have seen, I've built
the terrain stuff.
The terrain for Tollinchester, because it plays out on a relatively small surface, like 2x2.
2x2. Yeah.
So you don't need a huge amount of terrain in there to build a street. A few buildings on either side, and away you go, and then you can start doing courtyards and all sorts of things. So you can get that sort of tight, compact gameplay in a very small space. So you're not having to worry about having 150 buildings on a 6x4 to actually make part of the city.
if you already have the any of the stuff from Battle Systems for a lot of their fantasy towns and things, that would be a perfect opportunity.
Yeah. Or if you have some of the old Fabled Realms stuff from Foreground,
that
would work perfectly. I do like the idea of it being such a small, self-contained thing because it gives you that feeling of crowded, busy streets.
Yeah. It's really well done from what we've seen of the game.
Can't wait to get a game of it.
Yeah, it looks brilliant.
Are they going to be at Salute?
They will be.
I imagine so. Yeah. They always have been
get
in the
it
past.
probably. So,
yeah. If you just
have to go hunting,
the tiny fighting men, you can grab those in
all
big box packs. So Wargames Atlantic have the guards up and available to, depending on which country you're in, buy. So they've come off pre-order and they're starting to ship, but they ship from 3 separate hubs. So you can probably check on the Wargames Atlantic website where they are. But you can see there, the guards make a very decent militia. So they have a touch of the, I'd say more touch of the Empire than Bretonia about them, but a short shrift, they would fit for Bretonia as well.
I mean, if you're looking for something just to fold in for some more Frostgrave fun,
Frostgrave or
great
more
level
time.
of selection, lovely miniatures. I love the backpack with just a ton of different weapons in it.
Yeah, there's also a goose on one of the sprues.
Goose?
Yeah.
There's little.
There it is.
There's little city
the guard goose,
city bits.
Yeah,
because remember Romans used geese as watchdogs.
I did not. I don't
did
know
you
if
not
you're
know
lying
that?
or
All right.
That's interesting.
They had dogs as pets, but if you wanted to make sure that you had something protecting your property,
a goose,
they would use geese because they would go absolutely buckshy mad if people tried to disturb them in their place at night, and also quite vicious as well, but mostly for the squawking and peckings. So
thanks for letting us have a gander.
Ton of fun at that. I'm just going to let that one slide on by. And then there's also the City Folk set, so the classic fantasy City Folk.
Lovely.
24 in both of these, so you get 4 sprues, and I think there's 6 on a sprue. And you can see there, again, a whole host of accoutrements. The hands are nearly all open. So
put whatever you like in them. Yeah.
Yes. So if you don't want to add a snake or a fish or a cleaver or whatever, don't.
You can just have them running away.
You can have them just being on the street, not being a problem to anyone. There is some sort of Punch and Judy man with a puppet, which I imagine will get done up with a little top hat by somebody.
They've drilled it down to the point where if you want, you can put a butcher's apron on someone. You can give somebody a handbag.
Yeah.
The level of just customizability is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but they've clearly, taken the extra bit of time in order to sort of like make this as good as it can be. And I'm fantastic. It's great that it's coming out ahead of Salute, effectively. So.
Yeah. Well, I imagine we'll see, because it's heading in March, Salute's mid-April. The game itself will be there with a vengeance anyway.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll start to see
I'm going to be hard-pressed not to pick up a copy.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what Ewok Kebab's going to do.
Yeah, he's been building a huge city.
He has been building a ridiculous city, 3D printing the bejesus out of it, as they say in France. And it's just massive. He's gone the other way. He's gone, it's a 2x5 and you don't need 150 buildings. I'm just going to have 150. I'll just build it.
I'm going to play in this 2x2 square of this 6-foot board.
He's going to play it like a video game where there's a render distance.
But it looks superb. It looks like it's going to be a bunch of fun, and all of the work that's gone on there, sort of bringing the various collaborators together, seems to have really paid off.
Brilliant,
cracking, right?
Yeah,
Cyberpunk. That's how you shorten it.
That's how you do it. Yeah.
Yep. Watching you.
So in the vein of skirmish games on like a smaller scale, the folks at Monster Fight Club have put together a new 2-player starter set for those people who want to dive into their game Combat Zone. So Combat Zone has been around for a while already. It's been around for a couple of years. It's based on Cyberpunk Red, the role-playing game, but also the video game Cyberpunk 2077, which I've been playing recently, which is absolutely fantastic.
And the Netflix show. And that's where this comes in. So Cyberpunk Edgerunners, the 2-player starter set, allows you to take on the role of the Santo Domingo Edgerunner crew.
going up against Arasaka. It comes with everything you need to play. You get all of the terrain, you get all the cards, you get all the rules, you get the gubbins, you get a scenario booklet that will take you through a bunch of scenarios based on the show. And the thing that's quite nice about this one is that they've tried to make it a little bit more kind of like entry level friendly for people. So instead of having the miniatures in there, which you can get, all of the miniatures are available already separately for Arasaka, and as we'll see later, they're also available for the Santo Domingo crew as well. But they've done standees, as you can see here, with 3D renders of the characters, so that you can just immediately pop these out and just start playing the game. For anyone who's not played Combat Zone or knows anything about it, it's a quick, simple sort of skirmish game, which uses a really nice system and sort of dice mechanic in a game where there is no real turn or round. Gameplay just kind of flows back and forth between the players because they have this, what they've called the reaction system in the game, where you always get to do something in response to somebody else on the tabletop. And they also have a like almost like a traffic light system, kind of like a red, yellow, green system when it comes to the dice and the way you do actions. And as you take damage, the colors change on those actions and things like that until you get down to red, which is like D6s. But it's got like a separate sort of dice system in the game. So the higher your dice are, the more likely you are to succeed in certain things and certain actions. And so you've got a really nice dice system in there, very fluid movement mechanics and stuff in there as well. So it's all done sort of like there is distance and things, but it's kind of removing the idea of like tape measures and stuff to be a little bit more abstract, which I quite like, and kind of fits the sort of more cinematic nature of what you're trying to get with something like Cyberpunk and Edgerunners here. As you said, all the standees and everything you get in the box, so you can just start diving in and having a bit of good fun with it. It comes in around, if you're looking at it in kind of British money, in the Queen's pound, the King's pound.
Is it not King's now?
Charlie Sausage Fingers.
Charlie Sausage Fingers pounds, all covered in grease. It's coming in around 80 quid at the moment for that starter set, which is not bad considering all the terrain and everything you get in there as well. This is compared to the original sort of Combat Zone box set, which is about £100, which gets you the miniatures and stuff for a couple of different factions, alongside terrain and all that kind of stuff as well. But if you are interested in diving in, this obviously comes in a lower price point. Now, obviously, Monster Fight Club goes over in America, so you're going to have to work out things like shipping and stuff like that. But there are a bunch of people over in the UK that do tend to sell these. You'll see them popping up at friendly local gaming stores as well. So it's worth having a hunt around to see if you can find someone who's selling it in your neck of the woods rather than having to do the shipping. But I think it's a really nice option for those people who have maybe come from the Netflix show, or they've come from the video game, or just the role-playing game, and you want to dive in and have a look at it. Combat Zone is also stupidly well represented in terms of miniatures. They have a lot of stuff.
They do.
There are gangs for pretty much anybody that you could think of, including like all the major corps like Militech and all that kind of stuff. And for anyone who is just a fan of like classic Cyberpunk, there are lots and lots of nice nods to the old 2020 system in there, as well as 2077 and the way that Red is taking things in the role-playing space as well. So it's all very good.
Just let me murder some corpo scumbags.
Well, yeah, that's
Step 1, find a snap card. Step 2, snap the snap card and attempt to wrest control of the hover car away from the paramedic team and discover that they're better armored, and ready for combat than you are.
Hey, trauma team are no joke.
Well, do what I do. I did, and fight to the top of a high-rise, which was also a disco. And as the corpo is speeding away in their AV, jump off the top and hope that your super awesome gorilla arms will latch into the vehicle as you land on top of it, like Anakin Skywalker. Turns out, doesn't happen, and you fall to your death.
Shame.
So there we go.
Shame. We'll point out for people who want to try it, the rules I'm flicking through here.
Rules are free.
Free, so
Are
you can
they?
download them.
Oh.
So all you need to do is get your hands on 4 coloured poly dice.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of Cyberpunk style miniatures out there.
There are loads of them.
So if you fancy giving it a bladder with your own stuff, you can do that.
I'll put the links in the description so you can go and check all that out. I did also mention that there are miniatures available for the Edgerunners as well. So if you want to get the Arasaka stuff, that is all available separately already across a variety of different sets, because they have like personality sets and also starter gangs. But if you want to start a gang of all of the characters from the Santo Domingo crew, then you're able to go and get your hands on that. So you can get David Martinez and the rest of the team for that as well, which is absolutely
I want Jackie Wells.
I think there is a Jackie somewhere in their collection, but
gimme.
Yeah, he is pretty awesome.
Best character.
Big love to Jackie.
I don't know who that is, but I do know that they had Decker and Rachel from Blade Runner.
Yes,
and I do know who they are.
Yes,
so, of course you do.
Yeah,
so that's quite nice.
I will say, if you are somebody who loved the role playing game on either on the tabletop or you really like 2077, this is a perfect opportunity for you to actually play out all of that and have some fun with it, because there's loads of like Leonardo DiCaprio. Hold on a second, moments that'll come through. So if you want to get revenge for Evelyn Parker, you can do. You know what I mean? So yes, great stuff there for Cyberpunk.
Sweet.
Right. Finishing things off in the world of sci-fi. We have some more stuff for Star Wars Shatterpoint coming out from the folks at Atomic Mass Games. They have decided to go with a Rogue One theme for a couple of their releases for, I think this is kind of like March time. It might be April time for these releases. March time was the other stuff that we saw on the Jedi side of things. But if you are interested in Rogue One and playing out a little bit of a clash between Cassian Andor and Krennic, then you're going to be able to get your hands on a couple of new squad packs. So these will give you the characters of Cassian Andor and K2SO alongside a couple of Rebel Pathfinders. I am reliably informed that the actual sculpts, especially of Cassian, are better than
good. I was about to say, I don't know who he is.
It was a little bit Kendall,
because he just looks like random man with beard.
Yes, he does.
But
although K2SO, best character in Star Wars ever.
Oh, K2SO is fantastic, so it's nice to see him there. But yeah, so this is a set
I will die on that hill.
This is a set that allows you to play with Andor alongside his rebels. If you wanted to be assaulting, that base, then you'd be able to do that, which would be great. Set up against him, you have Director Krennic, who is part of the Deploy the Garrison squad back, as you can see there. You want to engage in your dark side. Comes with a couple of elite killers in the form of the Death Troopers, shooting people as they hurriedly dive into holes on the beach. And then you also get the iconic Shore Troopers as well, which I know a lot of people really enjoyed seeing in Star Wars Legion, and now they're in Shatterpoint as well. So yeah.
Although he did say when you're basing, half of the base has to be water and half the base has to be beach. Otherwise, they're not real shore troopers.
Yes, that's true.
Well, they're on shore leave.
Oh,
Krennic looks very young there.
He does, yes.
Yeah.
Once again, I will say
he looks
that
almost preteen. He kind of looks like Justin Bieber.
Well,
look at it.
That is
glad to say I don't know.
Yeah. But yes, apparently the sculpts for these are actually better than the paint jobs would suggest. But I would say also, it's a pretty hard job being a studio painter. So
True.
A lot of things.
Yeah, of course.
So yes, definitely worth checking those out if you wanted to go down the themed route for Star Wars Shatterpoint. I will say, I think it's one of the really big selling points of Shatterpoint as a game system. Like, a lot of people really enjoy the mechanics, and it works very well as a kind of like tournament level game. But one of the ways that it shines is that kind of like what if scenario style stuff, and also playing out those really cool thematic clashes that you get on the tabletop in Star Wars. So it's nice to see that Atomic Mass are kind of designing kits that allow you to sort of play that out on the tabletop, which is.
Do we think that they've come out with the Rogue One sets because Andor is the only Disney TV show that hasn't been hot garbage, with the exception of the Bill and Skull show?
I think that's probably the case.
Because series 2 comes in April.
It's very soon, yeah.
And Krennic is in series 2 because he was in the trailer.
I mean,
there's also Vader, and I don't really care about that. He should not be in that. Get him out.
I am a fan of The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian is good.
Mandalorian wasn't bad, yeah.
The Boba Fett spin-off was weird.
Yeah, that was some funkiness.
Book of Bubbly Feet was hot garbage. But you can't have
Mandalorian 1.5.
Mickey Mouse has to sweat those assets, man. He's got to keep minting in the diamonds.
How bad is the Book of Boba Fett? Well, so bad that they took one whole episode and just went, you know what, let's just do all the Mandalorian. We'll ignore anything that the baddest ass in the galaxy is up to. But hey ho, what can you do there?
He really likes Bacta tanks. So there we go.
He really did a lot. I don't know. I'm saying nothing. I'm actually saying quite a lot. And I regret none of it, as the man says. But there you go. Anyway, keep your eye out for Shatterpoint for the people who like the Star Wars Crisis Protocol games. They're big. Not for me. I have too much time, money devoted to Legion to upscale into a different game.
Waiting on that fire sale, Jerry, forever.
My friend recently bought into Shatterpoint.
Bought so much in fire sales. So many people are dumping stock.
My friend recently bought into Shatterpoint, so he has all the models, so I don't need to buy any. So
you're one of those
the best
leeching.
way to do things.
Yeah, but that's because I bought Marvel Crisis Protocol, so we've effectively done a swap. So there we go.
Division of labor.
Yes, division of resource.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's enough news. I think it's time to wrap up the show. And to do that, we have a couple of Kickstarters. And the first one is a bit of a corker.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
So, Blood on the Sands, the gladiatorial combat game, is on its way. Already funded, which is quite good for what is realistically a very indie game.
Yes.
Has been making this for a few years now. He's been blogging about it in our project system, doing playtest, taking it round conventions in Australia, and has got to the point where he is now able to release the 1v1 gladiatorial combat game, Blood on the Sands. And it is a 1v1. The idea behind it is to recreate a historic gladiatorial fight. So this isn't a hundreds of people in an arena. They didn't happen often. When they did, they tended to be Christians or criminals. The two are interchangeable. They would just put a load of them in there with no armor and let them hack away at each other, or throw some animals in. It wasn't something that happened often. Instead, with Blood on the Sands, you come into the game, you are essentially Ollie from Gladiator. You've got your stable of fighters. You create the characters, so there's some tables to roll on, so you can create your random characters. They could be Roman, they could be prisoners of war from Germania, they could be criminals, people who've actually just volunteered because they like the lifestyle. They think they're a corking fighter, or maybe they've got home from the army. There's they've run their land into the ground, and they've had to go into the arena just to make ends meet. And these have different traits and talents attached to them, so you can randomly work out your little crew and then assign them a specific gladiator class. So some of the gladiators that you'll see, like the playtest game myself and Shay played with the Thrakes against the Murmillo, that's the classic gladiatorial combat. That's what the arena combat started with, two very similar styles. So essentially a Roman soldier against a Thracian or Thracian soldier. And they were complementary. It was like heavyweight boxing, two big people with big shields tanking it out in the middle of the arena. And it's how the arena game started. And then people in Rome soon got bored with it, and that's when they started developing different types of gladiators and going, right, instead of having two blocky men with big, massive shields slapping each other for half an hour, what happens if we take a lightly armored guy with a net, a trident, bit of reach, bit of length, and put him up against somebody a bit tankier? Or what happens if we start mixing? So they started mixing and matching, some based on enemies they'd fought within Rome, some based on their mythology. And then you get these very interesting sort of matchups. So throughout the course of a arena year, your school will be up against another school, and you'll be looking to have the sort of the best matchups you can. Gameplay wise, it uses a mixture of action dice, a bit like Saga, for example, where the dice declare what you can do in a turn. So you roll 6 dice to begin with, although that can change as wounds and the like kick in.
And your abilities.
And then you can modify those with talents, or sometimes you can change certain dice regardless. So you can always chuck 2 dice away to get a single movement dice. So if you're being hounded or if somebody's running away from you, you can do that. Or you can, in Desperatus, always change any die into any die you need, but you end up forfeiting that and it causes you fatigue. So it's, when your back is against the arena wall and you really need to, you can do it. So you've got this dice pool that you have to manage, but it can be depleted over time. If your dice ever run out completely, game over. You can't do anything. So that's one way to lose in an arena. Another is to be disabled. And the character cards themselves have got a certain amount of hit points per location. So if any location is completely circled out, completely wounded from the incoming attack, then it means you've got a disabled limb, your arms hanging loose, your legs been hamstrung, whatever it is. Again, you've lost, you're out. Rarely do you have to throw yourself on the mercy of the crowd unless you've been particularly bad. And if you do, they might let you survive. They might ask for a bit of a coup de grace.
It's something I quite like about the game is that the fight between the two gladiators is less about just murdering each other. It's more about that skill and that tactic of what ploys, what special attacks are you using against each other to leverage your abilities into gaining the upper hand in the fight.
Well, there is a slapping attack. Your basic attack is just an attack against defense roll.
Yeah.
However, there are special attacks, which different die, or die face, I should say, because they're all the same action die. They just have different values on their faces. And then there are certain attacks that everybody gets. So a rush, everybody gets a chance to charge forward and attack, and everybody gets a chance to do certain special abilities. And then there are some that are keyed to specific gladiator classes. So there's like a exploiting lunge. So the ones armed with tridents or spears can attack from a couple of hexes away, which means they're very good. So if you've got your Rotarius or the Hoplomach, and the sort of the Greek style one who are attempting to punch in from a distance, they could do that. And the whole idea is to keep your opponent away. And some gladiators can use things like retreating, which the crowd generally don't like. And you're the way up, winning against winning badly. Because if you badly, the crowd get annoyed. And if they get annoyed, you start getting disfavor. And if you get too disfavor, you get an apathy. And if the crowd are starting to boo you so much that you get a second apathy, game over, you've lost again. Turned on you, doesn't matter. So
they were not entertained.
It's it's very much so. It's not always about the killings. So the game itself will have the 6 classes that you can see there. You'll get all the markers that you require, the action die, and then the standard D6, and then your tokens. And there is the potential to put hazards into the arena as well. So, especially for some of those matchups where you're a bit more flighty, being able to run around behind a brazier and then make your opponent come to you and maybe, get them a bit burnt, a bit fatigued is a way to go, because you're always having to deal with the fatigue stacking up on both sides. And there is like a respite that you can use to try and push it down, but you are fighting under a hot blazing sun in the middle of a sandy arena in some part of the great Roman Empire. And you never know what way it's going to pan out for you. So there's always the ticking clock of you can't fight all day. And if it means having to rush your opponent and try and push him against this massive spiked pole in the middle of the arena, do this. The game itself, the starter set will come with plastic multi-part miniatures from I love the mortar stamp.
It comes with the dead stamp.
Dead. The multi-part plastics are coming from Wargames Atlantic, again, because Hudson apparently will never stop creating new plastic kits every week. We've had a chance to play around with the 3D prototypes of a couple of them. And obviously we've had the Roman civilian box from
Gangs of Rome.
Gangs of Rome from Wargames Atlantic. So it gives a really good idea. I mean, they've got it down pat. The multi-part plastics will be spot on. Yeah. So torso, legs will be separate. There's a couple of different helmet designs for each of the classes, and then likewise shields. So, if you're putting a Scudum on, that's a Scudum and that's a Scudum. It doesn't really matter which is which. So depending on your gladiator, there's a serious amount of customization. And I think because of the way it's set up, that there should be 6 on a sprue. So a sprue will allow you to make your crew, your arena gang, squad, whatever you want to call it, your stable of fighters. So it'll be really easy to get into with multiple people because you just throw a sprue at them and go build those. Monkey boy. If you want to
look
go
at the artwork and build what you see.
Yeah. If you want to go a bit bigger, there is a arena which we have in our playthrough from Sarissa.
Yeah.
The Emperor and Empress ducks are not part of that, unfortunately, but we did add them.
You added Biggest Duckus.
Biggest Duckus. He quacks as high as any womb. And there are obviously bundles coming for people looking to get into the retail side or clubs, that sort of thing, various ways. There is no word about shipping yet. I know people have been concerned, because people always are, because the gang
coming from Oz,
from Australia. It's not coming from Oz. They are working on multiple shipping hubs. Australia will be one, US will be one, UK and EU they are finalising. Once they've them all finalised, they'll post shipping rates as an update. I imagine Sarissa and Wargames Atlantic may be involved with that because obviously they have hubs in several of those locations.
They do a lot of production stuff.
And they'll be doing a lot of the production. So it would make sense that they use those. So yes, there's nothing about shipping in here yet, but you'll be able to see where it goes. Yeah. Interesting thing will be their plans for the future, because it is a 1v1 fight. Mm-hmm. When you're kicking in, if there's 3 or 4 of you, you won't be in an arena. I've seen some people already speculating on how you could turn it into a melee.
Some people in the playtesting community have already tried it, and apparently it does work, but it's not been designed for that. Yeah. They have said it may be something they look at in the future.
Yes.
To be slightly more Hollywood. And then they've also talked about the potential of adding things in like animals and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But they had specific gladiators, the bestiarii that they fought against. So yeah.
But the thing for me, currently, and they don't really mention it, obviously they have the sort of the hazards that you can add. So the posts, the spike posts, the flaming braziers. But they talk about it being a relatively flat environment. But they did sculpt the arena floors into simulated terrain in some cases. So there could be a potential there for certainly homebrewed stuff where you change up. Obviously, it's all hex-based. You just need to get polystyrene and break out a hot wire cutter and start making little hexy-trained hills and things.
What hex tech is that might suit?
It's very sci-fi.
I know that the guys at Uncertain Scenery do some like basic hill stuff. So if you're wanting to keep those hex shapes but do some leveled terrain, they might be someone to go to.
Because it's a gameplay mechanic, I definitely need to keep them on hexes.
Then Uncertain Scenery is the guys you probably want to go to.
Could be, or polystyrene and a hot wire cutter. I'm very old school in that regards. But yeah, absolutely cracking stuff. Really looking forward to seeing where it goes. And obviously funded already, and there's still 24 days left on it.
There is.
So hopefully between now and the campaign finishing, myself and Shay will actually get a chance to get back in and do
the other gladiators.
Do a full Let's Play with Rotarius against Secator or Provocateur. Mm-hmm. May not be the right name for him. Anyway.
Agent Provocateur.
Yeah. There's a pair upcoming, which is a medium glad against another heavy.
Yeah. They may have been waiting in the wings watching the bout, I think.
They were. They were up there with the ducks, cheering people on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see how that pans out. We've a few weeks yet. We're just waiting, because obviously we did that with our Let's Play users. The play test. Stuff, photocopied, or not photocopied. Printed. But they're attempting to get us some actual card pieces through so we can show off the game with all the bells and whistles. But yeah, it's a really, really fun little game. It's like Battletech, but with gladiators.
Will be great for clubs, I think, and stores.
Campaign style stuff is going to be perfect for this.
There's a full thing about having those one-on-one fights, going up through the leagues, seeing who gets crowned the best in Saturnalia and all that kind of thing. So,
well, there is the campaign system has advances for your gladiators. As they get better, they learn new skills and get new traits and stuff like that as well. So all of a sudden coming across somebody who, potentially has has fought so long that some of the weaknesses of their class have been mitigated by traits and skills they've learned, and all of a sudden you're going, well, the one thing I was depending on was him not being able to see me coming, and now I'm going to get absolutely twatted.
You could take something like that and do like a 2v1. So take your really, really great guy and just throw 2 dungers at him. Could make a fun match.
Wouldn't go out in the field. No, that's beneath me. Why would I fight 2 monkeys? Just give them to somebody else. Give them to one of the rookies who doesn't even have a name yet. No, I've got fame. Men want to be me, women want to be with me. So that's what being a gladiator is all about.
Yeah.
If you ever
rock stars,
if you ever get the chance to see some of the graffiti at Pompeii, there's some really nice graffiti in front of a theater where some kid has drawn gladiators fighting and the names of his favorite gladiators. So that's clearly he's been brought along to see whatever Greek tragedy mum and dad thought was great for him, and he's going, I'd rather be watching him kick the shit out of him.
It's the equivalent of sitting in church with the football on the radio in your ears. Yeah, so.
That's what it's like. Earbud in.
Yeah.
Something. Yes.
Yeah.
God. Yes, love God. Sit back down again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yes, blood on the sands. Cracking stuff.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
We also have some more World War II, Ben.
We do, yeah. So we started off with World War II and thought it'd be good to end with it, but in a 3D printing sense. So the folks at 3D Breed Miniatures have been doing a whole bunch of these sort of like join or die campaigns, which have covered a variety of different time periods. But one of the ones that they've done a lot for has been World War II. In this case, they're putting together what they're calling Volume 1 of their Airborne collection. So the idea is that it's going to be a variety of 28mm scale STL files for you to print off at home that will allow you to build both the US and also the German side of their Airborne Armies for you to use on the tabletop. So if you're somebody who's been looking at Bolt Action or V for Victory and a variety of other games that are out there at the moment, and you wanted to get yourself some stuff that you could just 3D print at home, then you can go over and check out the Kickstarter right now, which is fully funded. And each side effectively gets their hands on HQ miniatures alongside all the stuff that you'd expect for kind of like building up your armies, your slightly more elite armies, I suppose. So you get your things like your medics, your NCOs, you get all of your riflemen that you're ever going to need, as you can see here, alongside, which is a really nice bonus, vehicles and stuff as well. So in addition to the kind of core infantry for both sides of those airborne forces, maybe you're going to get your hands on some fun vehicles like tanks and jeeps and all that kind of stuff.
Kubelwagons.
That your airborne will support when they're diving into their campaigns. It's a very simple, very easy campaign to get stuck into, as you know, as 3D Breed have done in the past. You just dive in, you get the big bundle, you get all of the US stuff, you get all the Germans or everything else in between, and you can just start printing it, and away you go. As I say, 3D Breed have been doing a huge amount of these campaigns over the last couple of years. They are very practiced in it. A lot of their stuff has sort of like come full circle. So they've really kind of like honed their craft and brought together a really nice collection here, I think, for the airborne side of either of these. In addition, as you can see, they have also added in a stupid amount of stretch goals. So if you're looking for artillery, casualties to use as markers in your games, if you don't want to use dice or other chits and things like that, alongside some hefty vehicles, as you can see there, tank riders and all that kind of stuff. So
wait, hang on, are they doing 2 tanks per stretch goal there, one for each side?
Well, it looks kind of. Yes.
At that point, they are. Yes.
Wow.
At that point, they will be. Yeah. So yes, they are definitely going all out with this one. If you're playing, as I said, any of the games that we've mentioned before, like Bolt Action or V for Victory, these would be a pretty good way for you to go. If you already have your hands on the rules for those games and you just want to 3D print some stuff at home, then go for it and see where this one takes you. But yeah. If you're looking for a slightly more elite army for both the US and the Germans, get their airborne, throw them into the mix and have some fun. So, yeah, very good.
Yeah. And just one pledge level and then the stretch goals to be added to it. So,
yep. Yeah.
50 euro.
Get both sides for 50 euro, which is
42 quid.
42 pounds. Unfortunately, the early bird's gone.
Bargain.
Then you just need to convince your partner to let you run the 3D printer constantly for about a week. So.
Oh no, that's more than a week.
Yeah, well,
definitely more than a week.
Depends how many hours you're allowed to run it.
Just do like a quick draft, same whenever you're printing.
Yeah,
use less resin.
Yeah.
Just do it
I mean, you could scale them all down to 2 mil and do it on one plate.
Well, that's true. Yeah, do that.
It's all good. It's all good in hood.
Yeah.
Yes, funded already then, and 23 days to go.
23 days left on that.
Plenty of time for both of those. Hopefully that's whet your whistle. Cool whip.
Old jokes are old.
So we're going to knock off now before I lose my mind, if that hasn't already happened. We'll be back again next Friday for more of the same. But if that's too far away, join us on Sunday. Join us. Where we'll be talking about our hobby and yours in our XLBS for our cultists. And if you're not already a cultist, you can come over to OnTableTop.com and sign up for a 30-day trial. Until then, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.